Hello, everyone. Welcome to College Coaching Network, another episode of Social Spotlight Live. Today, as we do every Friday, we're going to do another awesome 10-10 challenge where we have our special guest, Miss Tami Pruitt, that is going to talk about all about her very first job. So Claude has those 10 questions so we can learn about her first job, because, you know, we have the started from the bottom. Now we hear scenarios. So Claude.
Definitely. So, you know, before we were rushing on here, so we didn't get a chance to ask you, Tami, are you a Chiefs fan?
Oh, very much so. Very much so. But I'm not allowed to wear my red because for game day this year, I wore my black Nike. So I can only wear black Nike till we win the Super Bowl. I can't wear my red.
Yes, right. So I just want to see, Miko, are you a Chiefs fan?
I'm what they call a fair weather fan. I'm not even necessarily a football fan, but I support the Chiefs. If I didn't in my house, my husband would probably put me out. So
there you go.
Look.
Yeah.
So because this is the only Friday that we're going to have before they get ready to go into hopefully winning their second Super Bowl, which is amazing. Can we do one of those Andy Reid's and say, how about them Chiefs?
Yeah.
All right, it's Friday. We're here. We're in the building. All right, so you ready? We got these 10 questions for 10 seconds. You ready?
Ready.
All right, here we go. First question. Where did you work in your first job?
So, my first job was actually at Casual Corners, and I'll tell you why. My dad always said you need to dress like you're going somewhere. And he really drilled that into our heads. So Casual Corners back in the day had every suit that you could imagine. I had those suits. So they knew me there. So it was Christmas break from college, and the manager asked me if I wanted to work over the holidays. That was my very first job, was at Casual Corners.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And she gave a lot of her paycheck back to Casual Corners.
I certainly did, because I had to dress like I was going somewhere.
It's called recycling. It's recycling. You know, she was environmental conscious.
Yeah.
So what was your title at Casual Corner?
I was a sales associate.
Oh, so you had the ability to do some sales work. Okay, so what was your hourly pay on your first job?
That I don't know. I'm going to say whatever minimum wage was at that time. But I will say I did have a knack for the sales, even though I'm not a salesy person, just because I knew how to put things together. You know, I knew how to put the blouse with the right suit and, you know, the belt and all of that. So, yeah.
That's pretty good, because most people try to sell, and you said, I'm going to present it to you in a way that it sells
itself. There you
go.
Because I knew what I wanted when I walked in. So I tried to give the same thing.
I love that. I may have to use that tip even today in my own life. That's pretty good, right? All right. Were you on time or late?
Oh, I was always early. Again, I go back to my childhood. If you're early, you late. So you got to get there early, observe the situation, you know, get yourself prepared so you can walk in ready to go. And I still do that to this day.
Where did you learn that habit from? I love it. Where did you learn that habit from?
My father. He used to say that all the time. You're going to hear me refer to him often. Our upbringing, he was very hands-on. So when other kids were out playing for summer break, he would leave assignments for us to do in the morning. So Tasha might have to do math. Terry might have to read a chapter out of a book. I might have to write a book report. Somebody had to read current events in the newspaper. And when he came home, we all had to report out over the dinner table. That was part of growing up in my household. So he always had, we called them daddyisms for us. And that was one of them. You weren't late when you went somewhere.
Real quick, I got more questions. I got more questions, but this is crazy. And your little sister, again, all the boys loved your little sister. They were all, including myself back in the day, we were all in love with your little sister.
Yeah.
But it wasn't necessarily just because, you know, we thought she was cute, but it was, she carried herself as if she didn't settle for anything that was petty. If that made any sense.
Absolutely right. That was a mantra in our household. It was like, you deserve the best. You can have the best. You are the best. We heard, I love you every day. There was no settling. You were going to be educated. My dad told us 5 girls, 1 boy, just so you know.
Wow.
God probably knows that, but there's 5 girls, 1 boy. He said, I want you to grow up and marry a good man, but things happen and I want you to be able to take care of yourself. So education was always at the forefront. Who we are as women, Black women, my brother as a Black man, all of that was ingrained in us coming up. So you carried yourself a certain way. And that went back to, when you leave the house, you look like you're going somewhere. Even if you go into the grocery store. When we were young, we didn't wear sweats and all of that. We would have been in trouble in the pandemic now. But we didn't wear that because that wasn't acceptable. You combed your hair. When you left the house, you looked good. You looked like you were going somewhere. Those things were ingrained.
That is amazing. So you basically, you're giving me an alley-oop on this one. My next literally my next question is appearance. Did you prepare your clothes the night before?
I do. And I still do that to this day. And I know I'm the nerdiest person out there because I prepared my clothes. I did that even when I went to high school. And I prepared them for my little brothers and sisters. Tiffany, I used to iron her clothes, lay them out for her every week. That just was in me to organize that way, but I wanted them to have that as well. So yes, I did that. And I know it's nerdy, but I still do it to this day.
So you're the only person probably that I can ask this question to under that question. So this is a side question. This is not the regular 10 and a half. How did that make you feel being prepared as opposed to the times that maybe you didn't do it? Because everybody maybe falls off here or there, right? So times that how did that make you feel doing that, being prepared?
It gave me more confidence to walk in the room, more confidence, whether it was being on time for a presentation, whatever it may be. When I get there, when I prepare the night before, everything's laid out. I might even try it on again. If I'm doing a presentation, I'm gonna practice that presentation in the mirror. So when I walk in, I'm prepared not only from head to toe, that's something I don't have to think about, but I'm ready to speak. I'm ready to engage. I'm ready to build a relationship, whatever it may be, because the prep work was done ahead of time.
That is good. Man, that was good. All right. Biggest life lesson from your first job, reflecting back.
Can I move to like maybe my second job?
Go for it. Yeah, okay. Go for it.
So when I graduated college, one of the first jobs I had, I worked for my dad. He owned several service stations around the Kansas City area. And I became a manager at one of his stations. And I was like 24 years old. And one of the biggest lessons I learned is building the relationship. You have to know what motivates people. I had to manage people that were 16, people that were 60. I had to work with vendors that had never worked with a woman, let alone a Black woman, order my product. I was responsible for all of that. So it was that relationship piece and then knowing what motivates people. Because if I had this 16-year-old doing a shift change with the 45-year-old coming on, they had to do the job for each other before they came on, cleaning up, all of that. So really figuring out what motivates people and imparting that into the type of leadership that I was able to do. So relationship.
Man, so rich. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Go ahead, Mika.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's good. I'm gonna save all the other little questions.
Oh my man, you got so much richness to when you communicate. All right, were you a saver or a spender?
I would say both. And that changed. I think in college, I was more of a spender. And then when I graduated college, a saver. And I think for obvious reasons in college, I wasn't paying for everything myself. When I graduated from college, it was coming out of my pocket. I'm like, I better rethink this situation. So, out of necessity, I became the saver. So it changed as the funding pot changed.
That is true. All right. So, last two questions. What song best describes your first job, or what song was popular during the time of your first job?
You know what? I don't know if this is going to be accurate, but this is what sticks in my head since this is what you're asking me. Almost embarrassed, but No Scrubs by TLC.
That's a good one.
That's one that popped in my mind. I'm like, if I'm working, you need to work. If I got a car, you need to have a car. You know, No Scrubs.
That's a good one. If
both coming to the table with something.
You gotta have something. You gotta have something. Your dad will be proud of you saying that for that song.
Yes.
All right. And then last question: most embarrassing moment that ever happened to you on your first job or any job?
Oh, that's a hard one. Let's see. Maybe. Oh, my sister would kill me. I can't tell that one. Maybe I will. Who will see this? No. So, along my job journey, I don't know if we'll get there or not, but I went back and got my master's degree. I was also a happy recipient of the Kauffman Foundation, which allowed me to do that. And I became a teacher for a period of time. So I went back to teach in the district that I graduated from. So here I am, this teacher in Blue Springs, teaching. I'm sitting in the lunchroom, getting to know the people around me. This teacher comes up to me and starts telling me all these stories about my house, my parents, my sister. I'm like, well, who are you? She's like, oh, we used to party at your house every weekend when your parents went out of town. So I was like, so one of my sisters, I won't say who, was having these wonderful parties at my parents' house, and I found out after I was grown, kid. Everybody was looking at me. I'm like, really? And different things that they were telling me, it all lined up. Somebody broke my bedroom window. He told me who broke the window. He was there. Oh yeah. So it was just hilarious the way that everything all comes back around. And then my sister, she's like, how did you find all this out? Yeah. So it wasn't necessarily my embarrassing moment, but it was like me sitting there like, huh? Yeah, all these things happen.
When you think you got away.
Exactly.
Nothing gets hit. So I'm sure you call your sibling and was like, now what were you calling yourself?
I did. It was hilarious. She wanted to know how I knew what I knew. Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. So what we want to thank you for sharing those, because the whole genesis of asking those questions is we want the kids to know that you don't start at the top of the mountain, right? We all have humble beginnings. We have some crazy stories, and honestly enjoy looking back. And I'll like to see what you say about this. Looking back, those times when we were in college and we didn't have that much money, or you were working that job and you're looking at the check like, okay, this is all I get? But those are fun. Right? Yeah, who is FICA? Right? I'm looking for him still now. But but those times, I wish I could sometime go back, because it's like the older you get, you have more responsibilities and you got more people that are counting on you. And those are just some freeing times where you didn't need to have a whole lot to be able to enjoy yourself. So young people today that are going to listen to this, and then we want to kind of learn about what you're doing now. What advice would you give to a young person that is starting out and they may feel like they're frustrated because they have to start down here and work themselves up? What advice would you give to them through that process?
I would say keep pressing, persevere, believe in yourself, get a mantra that you say to yourself, put a post-it on the mirror, speak that over yourself. Words have power every single day, and keep your focus. So even if people are faltering around you, or it feels like the world around you, like now is changing, you're not in control of things, center yourself and take a hold of what you can take a hold of, and just keep that mantra going about yourself, your belief, your faith.
That's good.
That's good. So I know that currently you're the regional director of professional learning for the Scholastic Publishing Incorporated. How did you take that career path? Because you talked about, look, you were a stylista. Look, you were a stylista in the first job, right? And then going into the school system teaching and now working with Scholastic. So what was your journey and how did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, every step was a leap of faith. So I went to Rockhurst and I graduated in marketing and management. So I came out, I worked for GHA for a minute, and then I took a job as that manager for my father and got a lot of experience. And then I got married, had my daughter, and wanted to come out of that hectic life. So I said, what is it I really want to do? And I really took a moment to reflect, and I really felt a calling to be a teacher, an educator. So I started subbing just to see if it was for me. So I did that for a while, and actually a year. And I had an administrator in the district that I was subbing in. It was over in Wyandotte County at the time. She came up to me and said, you are a natural. You really have a calling to be a teacher. I see it on you. She said, I didn't know you were a substitute till I went to ask someone, because I studied just like the teachers. I made my lesson plans. I did everything. And she said, I'd like to recommend you for a program. Are you interested? And I said, sure. That's how I got hooked up with the Kauffman Foundation. And I was part of a cohort. They had a group of us that they paid for our education to go back and get our master's in education. And while I was doing that, I was working full time. I was a wife. I was a mom. I was going to school every day, 7 days a week, doing my labs on Saturday and Sunday, because nothing for business transfers to education, FYI. So I had to do a lot more work than the other people that got into the program to graduate on time with them. But I did that. And then I taught for a while. And then I told you I went back to the district in Blue Springs that I came from, but went there with lots of tools, because the district I came from, I had to learn on my feet. It was like a learning, intense learning process. And when I got to that district, I was different than the other teachers, not knowing it. I taught with my classroom door open. The way that I spoke to my students, Mr. Jones, Miss this, we had just a nice respect going on in the room. And every time I would look up, someone would be in the back of my room, because I taught with my door open. No one else did at that time. So then I got an invitation to become a reading coach. So I took that. Did that for a year. I got an invitation to become an instructional coach for the district. I did that for over 5 years and created a writing curriculum for the district. In that time, I reached out to Scholastic and said, hey, I love your writing material. I'd love to meet the author that wrote it and have her come in and train my teachers. So I connected myself with that author and started doing projects for Scholastic. Then I got an invitation for a full-time job with Scholastic. So then I took that job with Scholastic as a consultant and then moved up from there. Mm-hmm.
So
that is incredible.
Yeah, there's so many lessons that you just said in that I want to unpack. But when you reached out and you were serving with Scholastic, and then you took the job as a consultant, were you a consultant and still a teacher during that same timeline, or how that
I was a full-time instructional coach, which meant I covered all of our elementary buildings at that time, which was 12. My main responsibility was supporting teachers with teaching writing. So I modeled lessons, taught them how to do assessment, all of that. But I was using all of Scholastic materials to do that. So I wanted that author of that material, the books that I was reading on my own. So that's who I reached out to. And my support within my district said, if that's what you need, we'll find the money to get that. So again, another door that was opened, and she came in and loved what I was doing. So they invited one of the directors from Scholastic came to my district and said, you've ordered all of our materials. What are you doing with it? So I took her from kindergarten all the way through middle school so she could see how the teachers that I was working with, how they were using the materials. And then our writing scores improved so much, Scholastic actually published them in what they call their white paper. And then maybe a week after that is when I got a call saying, hey, have you ever thought about working for, Scholastic? And I'm like, well, it's crossed my mind, but I don't know a whole lot about it, because I felt my calling was really where I was. But then I said, okay, don't limit yourself. Each time you've been promoted, somebody's invited you in.
Yes.
And so I said, this is another invitation. So I had to look at it as a way for me to be able to touch more teachers who were then in the room with all these students. So that's what really motivated me to take that job. And then for this position I'm in now, I got another invitation. I got a phone call saying, hey, we need a regional director for professional learning. And I was nervous, but I took the job. But I also spoke up for myself at that time and said, I want to do this piece of the job, but not this piece, because there's a piece that's all finance, all New York. My heart is with the teacher and the student.
Yes.
So I was the only regional director for the United States for 2 years. And I flew everywhere and traveled everywhere. There's 7 of us now. You see what I'm saying?
You were covering 7 people's jobs.
Yeah, so there's 7. So my technical title is Senior Regional Director. But you see what the Lord did? He preserved that. I didn't have to lose a title. I got a promotion and my territory got smaller. So nobody could do that. But when you step out of the fear and you accept the invitation, step out of the fear and accept the invitation. Yeah.
The key thing, one of the key things I want to hone in on, because sometimes people miss that aspect. Mm-hmm. It was great to get the invitation, and sometimes we can make ourselves miserable with what we were offered, even though it's something we want, by not speaking up. Yeah. You spoke up and expressed what you needed to make it work. Wow. And I want students and even parents to understand that sometimes you have to speak up for yourself from the level of what works for you. Mm-hmm. And when people see the value in you enough, and that, look, some people even respect the fact that you stood up and said what you wanted and just didn't take whatever. Yeah. So that's one of the things I just wanted people to really stop and listen to, because sometimes a lot of us do just kind of be like, okay, well, I want this, but I have to take all of this. The choice is yours.
And I feel like that's an intrinsic thing. You have your upbringing, you have what your parents impart in you, and then at some point you got to take hold of this thing and say, this is who I am. These are my values. This is what I want for myself. Because you've heard me speak about my parents on here, but they didn't have the same opportunities. My dad didn't know his dad at when he was 17. We had this conversation. He said when he was 17, he just decided he wanted something different. I'm going to be a good dad. And he said, I had a prayer and I prayed it. Lord, help me be a good dad and help me send my kids to college. He said, there's only 2 things I've ever asked for. Everything else is extra. You see what I'm saying? So at some point, you take a hold for yourself and say, this is what I want, and this is what I need to do to get it. And not vary from that, have your morals and your values in place so that you can help navigate the way. And then as the doors open or as the invitations come, I feel like that's where the confidence comes from, because it's in alignment with what you've already been speaking over yourself and to yourself. So when the noise comes in, you can block that out because you've already built yourself up so much.
Yes.
Them, that's not me. That's them, that's not me. Yeah.
What I love about this story so much is it's a beautiful portrait of, if you serve well at the level that you're at, that opportunities or the doors or the windows, however you want to say that analogy, will actually open up for you. And will expand you beyond what you think is possible. And you see so many people in life that they're frustrated at their current position. They are looking at social media and they want what somebody else has instead of appreciation for what they have and maximizing what they have. And for me, listening to, I mean, I wasn't in the classroom or anything looking at what you're doing, but from what I'm hearing your story, I can hear that you said, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to create a culture of respect. I am going to, first of all, create a culture of respect for myself, right? I'm going to respect myself enough to be prepared and be a professional. So when I go in there, I'm prepared to be able to give the best representation of who I am. And then from that place of respecting yourself, you were able to now transfer that over to a culture of other people that will emulate what you already privately have been doing. And then from that point, you were finding, like, how do I create more value for who I'm called to serve in this season?
Absolutely.
Right? And then by doing that, other people started to take notice that you were consistent and you were diligent in doing just that. And then the opportunities start to come. But if you take those things that you do and you couple that with faith, because sometimes people get so complacent that they do what they do well at one level that they don't think that they can do what they do well at another level. But you never allow fear to stop you from going to that next level to do the same thing that was successful down here at that next level. And so my last question for you is, how did you build up enough faith to be able to know that I'm good here and I could stay here and be comfortable, but I feel like there's more, and I don't really know what that looks like, but I'm willing to give up what I know is comfortable to go after something that may make me uncomfortable? Like, how were you able to transition that way?
That for me is where my faith comes in. I have to pray about it, meditate on it. And even now, I'm constantly seeking because I don't feel like I've hit my peak. So I always want to be challenged. There are projects that I want to do right now, and I don't know how they're going to get done. But I always want to challenge myself to reach beyond where I'm at right now. I may be able to do it within the parameters that I'm in right now, but my prayers always show me how to do that thing because I feel like God gives it to me. That's part of my faith, and I keep it in a journal. I write down the details about it. I wake up and I'm talking into my phone with my notes. So there are other things that I want to do that are still on my list. So I don't know if it's within the parameters of the job that I'm in right now or if another door will open, but I always keep my sights on that, and I make sure that I don't put myself in a box. Because I feel like that's what we do when we limit ourselves and say, this is all we can do, this right here, what I can see, tunnel vision. And there's so much more. And that goes back to my faith. It's like I could stick with my little bitty thoughts, or I could step out on faith and grab some big ones. And that's what I choose to do. That's what I feel we should choose to do. I encourage our young people to choose to do that. Nobody can limit you but you. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. I'm going to listen to this one again.
Yes.
I'm a fan of this one myself.
Yeah. That is good.
What did you say? I didn't hear you.
I said, I'm a fan of this one myself. I'm going to listen to this one again. There's other ones too. But
I'm enjoying both of you as well. Yeah. This is good.
Yes, so I just want to say thank you so much, Ms. Tami, for taking time out of your busy schedule to come out and talk to our students and families. You said so many amazing things to get people to think and students to realize that one of the things I would definitely take away is be open for opportunities.
Yeah.
Be open for opportunities is what I heard. And also to give your all in your passion of where you're at. And then the opportunities will seek you out. Yes. So it's twofold. So I just want to again thank you, Ms. Tami, for joining us on Social Spotlight Live and taking the 10-10 challenge. Tell your sister no more big parties.
I didn't say which sister.
You didn't say which sister. Yeah, no, we don't know which one, but somebody can throw a good party.
Right. Well, it's been my pleasure. Thank you both for having me.
Yes, thank you. And thank you guys for tuning in to another session of College Coaching Network Social Spotlight Live. Today's special guest was Miss Tami Pruitt, and she took the 10-10 challenge. And we just want to thank you again for tuning in. Have a great weekend and look, go Chiefs.
Yes, how about those Chiefs?